It's going to make us a much stronger, much richer nation.
With a stroke of his pen, US President Donald Trump sets up a plan to impose up to $60 billion in tariffs against China. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. US President Donald Trump praised China's leadership and called the country a friend before signing a large package of tariffs, citing a, quote, out-of-control trade deficit. The Chinese ambassador to the US reacted Thursday saying, "Let me assure those people who intend to fight a trade war, we will certainly fight back. We will retaliate. If people want to play tough, we will play tough with them and see who will last longer." Let's get the latest now from CGTN's Nathan King. He's at the White House. And Nathan, first, there's been some breaking news in the last hour. More personnel changes in the White House.
Yeah, sorry to spoil your show, Anand, but yeah, the National Security Advisor, which of course up until a few minutes ago was H.R. McMaster, is now being replaced in early April by John Bolton. He's a former UN ambassador on the George W. Bush administration, and followers of international politics will know that he is a hawk. He was very much behind the invasion in Iraq. He is very much a hawk when it comes to the DPRK, North Korea, even advocating a military response very early on. He's a hawk when it comes to Iran, and also a hawk when it comes to China. So that is going to be a dramatic development here at the White House in the coming days and weeks. But you're right, let's get back to the tariffs. You know, Donald Trump campaigned on this. It looked like he wasn't going to do it for the first 6 months, 12 months of his term. But essentially what he said is that China is waging a systematic and state-run effort to bring intellectual property away from the United States and into China to transform its economy and the country. And so after a 7-month investigation, what the US is doing is saying that China is transferring intellectual property from the US to China, and it's going to take some remedies. There's going to be tariffs of between $50 and $60 billion of Chinese goods. There's a 15-day period where US companies are going to be affected, are going to have a chance to weigh in on this, reduce them maybe a little bit. They're also launching a WTO investigation against China's licensing agreements when it comes to US companies trying to do business in China. And also, and this is perhaps more ominous, they're instructing the US Treasury Department to draw up rules to limit Chinese investment in certain areas, and they're using the blueprint of the China 2025 mission statement, which essentially says that China has to be a global competitor in some key industries like semiconductors, robotics, medicine, and the like, as a target, if you like, to try and curtail Chinese investment. You know, this may not be a trade war just yet, but if you're going to start one, this is how you fire the opening shot.
Right, and Nathan, it's still, of course, very early on Friday morning in China, but what reaction have we seen so far to these tariffs? And one other thing is, what products might we see targeted by the US government?
Yeah, okay, so first of all, the US government is going to draw up a list. The USTR, the trade representative, is honing in on about 1,300 different product lines. We understand technology and electronics coming into the US is going to be top of that list, but that may change in the next 15 days, so do watch this space. In terms of China, well, they adopted a wait-and-see attitude. We knew this was coming, but we didn't quite know how it was going to go. But ever since the announcement, we've seen a huge reaction, not least here from Ambassador Cui Tiankai, the Chinese ambassador to the US, who said, look, we can be tough too. We will respond if need be. And China has indicated where it will respond. Agriculture is a big export to China, especially in states that voted for Donald Trump. I'm thinking soybeans from Iowa, $14 billion nearly exports in the last year or so. Aerospace too, Boeing. China can easily switch soybeans from Iowa to Brazil. It could also do Boeing to Airbus in Europe. The big question is how much and how whether China wants to respond strongly or whether it wants to hold its powder dry for some sort of negotiation. But the thing is, I was on a background call with White House officials before Donald Trump made his announcement, and there was no sort of sense that there's going to be some mechanism to try and sit down and talk about this. Literally, Peter Navarro, the trade and manufacturing guy here at the White House, who, of course, wrote that famous book, Death on China, said it's really up to China to change its behavior. So the gauntlet has been thrown down by the US.